Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to see you. It's Saturday and for the first time in a long time we are going to videotape Spooky Saturday. I have a really cool little hotel that was built in 1920s and it's got some kind of background that I just thought was kind of charming and yet creepy and absolutely haunted pure Michigan. So without further ado, let's get spooky. How is everybody doing? Are you guys all enjoying the summer? I'm trying to soak it in as much as possible. It seems right now that we are having a heat wave and it's kind of weird because it was supposed to be a cold summer, but here in Michigan it was not a cold summer. Let's talk about the little tiny hotel that is haunted. And I say little tiny, but it's not really a little tiny hotel. It is one of the historical hotels here in Michigan, and it's actually in a town called Clare. And Clare is actually one of your like staple areas in Michigan. It's old-timey, it's got that charm, it's got a beautiful downtown. It definitely has a touristy feel to it because Michigan is known for their little cute little downtowns. They've got that old-timey feel, but yet that new modern like hip and cool stores that you go to buy like $70 candles. I know you guys all know what I'm talking about, and Clare is exactly like that. It has historical buildings and they've been renovated and turned into something really cute. It just has that old-time charm. And the thing about Clare is that it was built right around the time that the automotive industry was taking off. And there was a railroad crossing it right by Clare. So it would make it a destination in the 1920s for many travelers, businessmen, and people trying to get somewhere fast to go to, because at that time the railroad was pretty much your best bet. So there was this man, and he was a senator. His name was Senator Doherty, and he was a pretty well-known man, well-loved man in the town, and he was very influential and he knew a lot of people. And as many people know, Henry Ford actually lived in Michigan. So Senator Doherty and Henry Ford were friends, and they talked a lot about the automotive industry. And Henry Ford convinced Doherty that, in fact, the automotive industry was going to be the biggest new thing that was going to happen, and lo and behold, he was absolutely correct. Doherty had wanted to open up a hotel, and a lot of people had told him, like, you need to put the hotel right by the railroad station because that's your best bet. All these people will be coming in. But because Henry Ford told him, like, hey, no, there's these automobiles that I'm making and they're gonna actually take off, and everybody, even the regular businessman, is going to own these automobiles. So Senator Doherty listened to his friend and actually built the hotel right in the middle of Clare. And that was a wonderful idea because, as we all know, automobiles are bigger and better than trains right now. They're what everybody lives off of. We have this hotel that was built at a time in Michigan when the automobile industry took off, which, for those of you that don't know, Michigan is pretty much like the headquarters, or it was, of where all of the vehicles were being built. We have like the big four that were here at one time. Of course, later on down the road, when the crash happened around 2010, a lot of that like went downhill and now we're outsourced, but that's like a whole nother conversation for another day. Doherty built this big, beautiful hotel. It was known as one of the biggest and most beautiful hotels in Michigan. Anybody that was in the area came to this hotel. He spared no expense. It was very extravagant and nice, and it was very well known. Right around the 1920s, something happened. I'm guessing that you guys probably know, and that would be the Great Depression. So what would happen is these different investors would build these big, huge things waiting for like these things to take off, and then when the Great Depression happened, a lot of these buildings or hotels or tourist areas, they went downhill because of the Great Depression. And the Doherty Hotel was no exemption from this. The interesting thing about the Doherty Hotel is if you hear it talked about by the Doherty family, who still owns the hotel to this day, which I just gotta put it out there that I really appreciate that the hotel is still standing and it is still owned by the same family. I do a lot of research on a lot of different haunted areas or true crime or historical places, and it's kind of rare that you find an establishment that's still being run and still going and it's still owned by the same family. And this hotel is actually one of the hotels that is unique like that. But the Doherty male was interviewed, the newest guy, the last man that's there. I don't know if that made any sense, but the Doherty that still lives inside the building to this day was actually interviewed. And I thought it was really cute that he said that the women of the Doherty family is what was the heart of the Doherty Hotel. And the reason why I thought that was kind of cute is because during the Great Depression, this family had decided that they were going to survive no matter what. And they did. But what a crazy, wild past the hotel now has because of it. Also, during the Great Depression, Prohibition was a thing. Prohibition, for those of you that did not know, is when the sale of alcohol was no longer allowed. And what would happen is they would have these speakeasies that would pop up all over the country. And you would have like a wall, it just looked like a normal wall, and you press a button or you move a fridge over, and then you get to go into this whole area, which is like a hidden behind the scenes bar that nobody knew about, but everybody knew about, but can't tell the law. And the Doherty Hotel had one of the most famous speakeasies inside of their hotel. They had gambling, they were home to many crime bosses would come there and spend time there. They were actually very well known because the Purple Gang used to go there and hang out there all of the time. And part of the reason why I brought up the whole women of the Doherty family was the heartbeat was because the Doherty Hotel at that time became a brothel, which it makes sense. You know, you already have a speakeasy going on, you have organized crime inside of there, and that's just, you know, another thing that went hand in hand. So it was a very famous brothel, and it had all of these things in this hotel. It actually sounds like it would have been a really cool place to go to. I'm not saying because it was a brothel, but I'm saying because, like, you know, the speakeasy and the gambling and the gangsters of the 1920s, they just kind of had this style that we lack these days, according to me. And it's really something that, you know, kind of got a little bit out of control. And one of the reasons why it did get out of control is because on May 14th, 1938, so we're kind of like a little bit further down the road. I think the Great Depression lasted about a good 20 years. It kept going until I think the 50s, and I believe World War II brought us out of it. Don't quote me, I'm just going on what I remember. I didn't even realize I was going to say that, but I'm pretty sure that is how we got ourselves out of the Great Depression, was the World War II and the manufacturing of the different things for the military. But in May 14th, 1938, which is my son's birthday, by the way, crazy date. May 14th, 1938, Carl Jack Livingston, a Michigan oil promoter, ended up getting into a fight and shot and killed Isaiah Lee Bove. He was shot in the top room of the hotel, and Isaiah Lee Bove was somewhat of a character himself. He actually was a attorney for the Purple Gang, and then he went from being an attorney for the Purple Gang into becoming more of a businessman for the Purple Gang. I'm not sure how that works. I'm guessing he probably did some shady stuff and got his license revoked, or nobody wanted to hire him as an attorney once they knew that he was affiliated with the Purple Gang. But these two men got into a fight that day, and it probably had something to do with some kind of organized crime. And Carl Jack Livingston shot and killed Isaiah right there in the room, and he died. And that is one of the most famous incidents that happened there at the hotel, and that definitely put a big spotlight on the hotel for having all of these activities going on with the Purple Gang. I assume that the law enforcement in the area already kind of knew what was going on there, but at that time I feel like a lot of the law enforcement could be like given hush money, like go away, and it was a nicer hotel, so a lot of the stuff they did was behind closed doors, and these speakeasies are they're very innovative. Like, seeing some of the like structures of a speakeasy, and it's like you walk into a kitchen and then you open up the cooler and you walk right into like a nightclub, and it's really cool. It's a very interesting part of our history, and I think it's kind of, I'm just gonna be honest, I think it's kind of awesome that Michigan took part of it. And the Purple Gang was an organized mob connected gang that pretty much was here in Michigan. You hear a lot about the Purple Gang when you go to these old buildings. I've also done another story on another hotel that was downtown Detroit called the Leland, that the Purple Gang hung out there too, and that has a lot of interesting facts that went with it. But let's talk a little bit about the building, because there are some cool facts. Like, number one, they have something in the Doherty Hotel called the Leprechaun Room. And the Leprechaun Room is something that's really crazy, because it's this room and it's green, and it basically tells this story about a poor man who worked very, very hard and did everything he could to gain and achieve all the things that he'd ever wanted. And so in this room, it has this leprechaun, and it goes through like a storyboard all over the wall, and it's known as the Leprechaun Man, or the Leprechaun Room. And I just don't foresee you being able to buy a wallpaper like that, so I personally think that this was hand painted. And I just want to make note that me doing research on this hotel, it's really like intrigued me, and this building is actually only like 2 hours away from my house, so I'm thinking about doing a part 2 and actually going there and walking around, because I really want to see what it looks like. I did read a lot of the reviews about the hotel, and they said that the historical part of the hotel is closed off to guests and you can't go in there, and the part that you can stay in it's kind of run down and it's not that comfortable. And the thing is you gotta understand that this building was built in 1850, so to renovate it at all might actually like take part of the historical aspect away from it, so it's not as simple as it may seem. So it's kind of sad that I read these reviews, you know, because I don't think people quite understand what it is to upkeep a historical building. But let's keep going. In the 1930s, they decided that they were going to actually build cottages around the hotel, and they decided after 10 years of that didn't work out, but I think it's kind of it's kind of something to note that there were little cottages all over the hotel. I would have liked to see the cottages. So here's some of the facts that I found by doing research on the hotel. The hotel sits by 3 highways by US 10, M115, US 127. There are 3 by the hotel, and just so you know, like, these facts I read, they're basically like trying to intrigue you to come to the hotel, so they're kind of like salesy, I guess, but still something to note. The hotel is across the street from a shop called Cops and Donuts, which I also think is really cool. So I want to go there just to go see like the coffee shop called Cops and Donuts, because I think that's pretty neat. And also something that I did not know is Clare, Michigan has a large Amish community that lives there, which I have never seen an Amish person in Michigan, but I definitely would like to, because I find that lifestyle, that whole thing, really intriguing. I'm sure they don't find it intriguing that I find it intriguing, but I do find it intriguing, and I would like to go see some Amish people in Michigan. So another thing that makes me want to go check out this hotel. Alright, let's talk about the haunting part of the hotel. There was a grandmother recently. Her name was Helen Doherty, and she was known as the grandma of the hotel. And at one time they had her funeral there at the hotel, and they had her laid out in this room so they could do the viewing or whatever. And I guess some paranormal investigators came to the hotel to see if there was any activity, and they actually recorded what was sounded like to be an older woman. She sounded feeble and sick, this is what they said, and they could hear her talking, and they believed that that was the voice of Grandma Doherty, and that is one of the entities that live at the Doherty Hotel. There is also, in Mrs. Doherty's room, there is a room specifically where Mrs. Doherty lived, there is a picture of her, and it is said that if you go up to the picture and look at the picture, that the eyes move. I see, this just makes me want to go. Like, I just want to go. I want to look at the picture. I want to see what Grandma Doherty looked like. I want to see if she's young in the picture, if she's old in the picture. I'm interested. I want to go. So a lot of the people that have stayed in the hotel, they actually do a lot of reports of hearing laughter or music being played. I don't know how much of that is you can account for being haunted, because it still is an open hotel. So are you actually hearing real people laughing? Are you really hearing real music being played? I'm not sure. But they also say that a lot of the people that stay there, there's like a heavy feeling, and you feel like you're not alone. And when you go to look around, you can't see anybody, but it's definitely like this kind of a feeling that something mysterious is with you. Going back to the story of Isaiah Lebov, they say that Isaiah Lebov, from him being shot in the building, that his spirit, his soul, is actually still into the hotel, and there have been a few sightings of him walking around, or they've heard like footsteps walking around, and they say that he still resides at the hotel to this day. They have had a lot of paranormal investigators that have gone there, and a lot of them have said that they definitely can feel something, and like I said, they've picked up people, an older woman talking, and it does have this overall creepy feeling to it. I'm very intrigued by the fact that it's still standing and it's still owned by the same family, and it does have kind of a checkered past. I would really love to go there and see if they have the area that was the speakeasy where the gambling was. I'd love to see that. It was also said that there were cabaret shows because of the brothel that was there, and that's just something that, like, I don't know, it just sounds really cool to me. Like, the thought that there were real burlesque shows there, and this place is super close. So I did enjoy actually doing research on this, and I think it's a really neat little sounding place, and I'm guessing, hopefully, in the near future, I'm gonna take off and go to the Doherty Hotel. Okay, so that is my spooky Saturday for you guys. I do have to go to work. I have a gig, believe it or not, and I will come home and I will edit this, so it's probably gonna be up pretty late. I'm very excited about Halloween coming up, and I want to videotape a lot of the things that I'm gonna be doing this year during October, because I think that you guys will really enjoy it, because I'm kind of like the queen of Halloween. I know I don't know if I've ever told you that, but it's true. Anyway, if you bared with me and watched this entire video, thank you so much, and it's so good to be able to be back and talking about stuff, and hopefully I have a lot of neat stuff coming up for you. So, as always, remember to subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment, show me a little love, and the most important thing you can do is stay safe and stay spooky.